Well, a bundle of years ago. And that church started with his family and has grown to around 300 people today. They've got their own building. They've just planted a church as well. It's a pretty remarkable story, Brian. And I know at every stage of leadership for pastors, as their church grows, they really have to reinvent themselves along
Mm.
the way. So, give us one specific skill or approach that you kind of had to jettison and leave behind as your church grew to another level. What was one particular skill or disposition, if you like, or attitude or approach you had to kind of leave behind as the church grew?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. I want to say up front, I'm a massive believer in levels theories. I have a bit of a bent towards them in the sense that there's certain leadership styles around certain size of church. And a great example for us in the question that you've asked would be around the 75 mark. Um, from the information that I've learned over the years, that first initial stages of church life really felt like just relax, just let's all get along, let's all just do life relationally. Let's just do what we can to just, not too fastidious in the approach. Let's just work on our harmony basically and getting along, building relationships with one another, and particularly anyone that was new. But then once we hit around that 75 stage, I understood that there needed to be more of a shift into the, all right, we've had a season of being together. Now we need to look at how we do together. And that do together meant that we started to get towards a
Mm.
little bit more of an event mentality, but it wasn't just a few people put the event on. No, no, we do this together. And so it went from that being that kind of casual relational to, hey, we've actually got some goals to meet now. We've actually got some objectives to fulfill, some roles to outwork. And that required a different style of leadership from me. I'm sanguine by nature. In other words, I show me the party, let's have some fun, all that sort of stuff together. And so that, to a certain degree, was an easy adjustment for me to make to go, come on, let's all do this together. It's exciting working together for the purpose of the gospel. So that was a distinct shift that I know we had to make and to rediscover and reinvent, so to speak, in our journey of seeing the church grow.
Did you have to give up some of that relational, sanguine sort of family gathering stuff as you grew through that 150, 200 stage?
Yes, certainly the 150 plus. I think a really good example of that is that from a pastoral care point of view, once we were starting to get into that 150, 200 space, we just couldn't touch everybody one on one anymore. In fact, if anything I enjoy about the 0 to 75 stage was I just intimately knew everybody.
Hmm.
But realizing that this now to run the church effectively, and we were really blessed. We had a more senior couple who were part of our church life. They just had a background in pastoral care and loving on people, so they helped us with a lot of that one-on-one stuff in the earlier days. But once we started pushing around that 150 to 200 mark, our small groups, our connect groups, became a vibrant part of sharing the load of caring for one another, discipling one another, walking alongside one another. No longer can we all, when anything's over 100 plus, you can't really know everybody very well anymore.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I had to get to the point, and that for a language change happened to happen in the reinvention stage. We understood that we had to start changing our language about, look, church, we're no longer able to care for each and every one of you. The language of our church is that pastoral care happens in connect groups. So we'd love for you to be part of a connect group. We were we worked really hard on that, and we actually ended up seeing somewhere in the range of 70% of our church in connect groups for the last 4 years.
Wow. So how did you handle that emotionally? Did people push back on that when you started to use that language of we're not going to be able to care for you that closely anymore? Did you get some shove back from people saying, hang on, I want you to be my pastor available all times?
Yeah, look, we certainly had some experiences over those years where some people just realized what they needed was a smaller church. And we
Mm,
had to walk through that with a few people to help them understand that. It, hard as that was, particularly because some of those people have been with us in those earlier
mm,
years, but to see that was more than what they needed. They just weren't used to church that was bigger. Because the average church size around the world, let alone Australia, is approximately 75 people. So
mm.
therefore, majority of, if you've even in church people's experience, is usually a smaller church
Yeah.
versus a bigger growing church. So that was that was an interesting dynamic as a pastor to walk through for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, very emotional point. And I think a lot of pastors stumble at that point of that
Mm,
emotional letting go of the pastoral shepherding of the flock and
yeah.
delegating it. So you have to move into a delegation, empowering others,
Mm,
releasing others.
yeah.
What sort of steps did you take to become more of an empowering leader? So not just doing it all yourself, but making sure you were delegating. What are a couple of things that you did to make that shift in yourself?
Again, it's a really good question, and there's certainly been some lessons learned in the strengths and not so good moments in doing that. I think one of the important qualities is choosing people well.
Hmm.
Sometimes we can get into a habit of going, "Well, we've got a hole. I need to fix it. Hey, you're gifted. Let's put you in." I find it really interesting in the choosing of David. He was one of 8 brothers, the youngest, and seemingly not even the popular brother. His eldest, Samuel takes one look at Eliab and says, "Surely the Lord's anointed stands before me because of his stature, his size." But as we understand, he was chosen because of his heart. If there's anything I know about choosing other leaders and delegating well, it's finding people who have mine and my wife's heart for the church. When they
Mm,
buy into our heart, when we can hear their heart in our heart, when we can hear they have the heart of the vision of our
mm,
church,
yeah.
empowering people like that is easy to do because you have an understanding that that heart will even help you to work through whatever challenges may arise, whatever as you work together and learn how to work with each other. But it's amazing what that heart will carry them through in that beginning journey of delegation, of understanding, carrying authority, etc.
Feeling stuck as a church leader? Growing your church doesn't have to be overwhelming. The Hub gives you step by step roadmaps to grow a healthy church in just 20 minutes a day. Join the hundreds of church leaders who found their breakthrough by accessing my 4 decades of ministry experience, which delivers genuine results. Start your free 14-day trial today at growahealthychurch.com/hub. So let me ask you, have you ever
Yeah,
delegated to someone who you discovered they didn't have your heart? Have you ever done that? Empowered someone and then, well, I can see it by the look on your face. The
I was going to
answer is
say, tell me a
yes.
pastor who hasn't.
So how did you handle that when you discovered this person? Actually, you've empowered them, delegated to them,
Yep.
you've taken the risk, and it's kind of backfired on you. How did you
Yeah.
cope with that?
Oh, look, that's been to be honest, they've been some of the toughest moments of pastoring. I think even more
Wow.
so than the changing of sizes. I think
Wow.
and that's why, again, when I come to that, what I've learned about delegating and learning who to take on as a leader, such a vital thing. Again, having talked to a few oversight pastors and let alone pastors full stop who are responsible for more than just one churches, it seems like the main pain point often for pastors is a wrong person in a wrong place. And
Yeah, true.
handling
So
it,
how
yeah,
did
it
you
is. It's
cope?
an emotional journey.
How did you cope? How did you cope with
I
it?
got on the phone. I'm very appreciative. I've just made a practice of walking with other pastors and leaders,
Awesome.
asking for wisdom, asking for
Yeah.
advice. Certainly, again, John, you and I have worked together for a number of years in
Yeah.
again how to deal with scenarios just like that.
Yeah.
We even skilling myself and even our teams. We actually had a year last year. We walked through a book together called Crucial Conversations.
Yeah.
So
Great
we're
book.
wanting to
Wow.
steel ourselves. Yeah. And again, a certain book that a certain coach, consultant highly recommended to us. And we've found that book so valuable. In fact, I sat in on a session we've got some tensions at the moment. And some people realized in walking into that, they actually brought through the skills of what they'd learned through Crucial Conversations. And I was so proud of the way that they actually all dealt with what could have been a tough conversation. They made it work well to the point where the sense of discipleship moment was just so beautiful that
Wow.
I go like,
Wow.
yeah, that's discipleship
Yeah.
right there that I'm so thankful for. Yeah.
I think there's a couple of key takeaways for pastors here. One, when you
Mm.
do have that blow up in your face, and we've all done it. We've had
Yeah.
empowering
Yeah.
delegating to someone who's then, oh my goodness, I've got the wrong person here, or they've gone rogue on me. Is pick
Yeah.
up the phone, talk to some other pastors,
Oh,
talk to some
yeah.
friends. Do not carry this alone, but also
Mm.
get some skills for awkward conversations so that you can go
Yeah.
into them well prepared. So, Brian,
Yeah.
what would you say was the hardest transitional stage in reinventing yourself? Was it the 75 up to the 150, or was it the 150 to the 200, or the 250 300? What? Come on, I'm going to get you to pick one. Now,
Go for it.
I don't want a lot of. I don't want you to describe every
You want the
stage.
one. You want the
Just
one. Yeah,
pick
I know. You want
one.
the
If
one.
only pick one. So, what was the hardest for you?
Easy right now. Where we are right now. I
So
think that where
going
we are right.
going through the 250 to 400 sort of zone.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a style of leader, from what I understand from reading, from talking with other leaders.
Yeah.
It's a style of leadership where I have to. It's not my natural personality style to do. It doesn't mean the skills can't be learned, but
Right.
in the learning of those skills, I guess I'm still doing exactly that,
So
and
what skills
therefore,
are you trying to really wrestle with at the moment?
I think it's more just that choleric, more style of holding
Right.
people responsible. How long, in the nature of discipleship, how long do you give somebody? How long do you
Yeah.
give
Right. Yeah.
somebody to work
Good
something out,
question.
as opposed
Good
to the
question.
relationship that you have with someone and going like,
Yeah.
oh, but we've been together for years. How do I? And it's not that we haven't talked about things, but how long do I give someone, as opposed to saying maybe you're not the right fit and maybe we have to have a different conversation.
Yeah.
So
I
that
think
right
that.
now is the probably the toughest
Yeah.
stage for myself.
I think that's a big issue for that 250 to 400 to 500 stage, is
Mm,
holding people to account that you've been relationally connected with, and
yeah.
you've got to change gears with them and say, look,
Mm,
we've got the relational connection, but now, you know what, I'm going to have to tell you that's not acceptable. You
mm,
can't do that. We can't be
mm,
continuing on this track. Things will
mm,
have to change if you don't change. So, gee,
yeah.
they're tough conversations. And that's where I think crucial conversations, awkward conversations,
Yeah.
learning that skill is so important, and to manage your own emotional area. So if a pastor's watching this now, he's kind of sitting
Hmm.
on the 100 to 150 mark, and they
Yep.
can see coming over the hill, we've got momentum, new people are coming, we're heading towards that 200. What's one piece of advice you'd give to them, is to kind of pre-wire and get ready for that next stage? What's one tip you'd give to them?
Oh, look, it's immediately who are you talking to? Have you got a coach? Have you got
Mm,
someone helping you walk through it? I've utilized Gordon Moore's books for years. He's written two books
mm,
specifically on levels. Those two
that's
books
right.
in particular have informed myself. In fact, I give it to any new team person. I say, I want you to just be aware of the dynamics that happen around certain size. So I think getting information, getting good advice, and have someone to process it with, having someone to
Mm,
walk through those things with. It's one thing to get that information in isolation. It's another thing to speak with someone who's got the experience, who's been there, done that, so to speak.
yeah,
And I can't recommend that enough to any pastor. Find someone who's at next level from you. Ask them the tough questions. Even get them to even have the courage to ask them maybe to come and inspect. We've had you as a consultant for years, and that's the very thing that we've always
mm,
appreciated, that you come with a different set of eyes because you've been further along on the journey than we have, and we're very thankful for the information every time that we receive in that
yeah.
process.
It's awesome, bro. Well done. You've grown a great church in a beautiful part of the world, Devonport, as we call it.
Yeah, that's it. Devonport. If you ever need a place to really holiday, rest, relax, refresh well, come to Devonport.
There we go. Brian's head of the Tourism Council, I think, in
That's it.
Tasmania these
Yeah.
days, Devonport anyway.
Mayor of the city.
Thanks,
Love it.
Brian, for joining us. God bless you, folks.
You too. God bless everybody.